It's hard to lose your job. It's hard to find another career, a fulfilling career. But I want you to know it's also hard on the person that had to let you go. You might not think you care about that, but that's a person too. And there's a right way and a wrong way to downsize and to help people find their next position. That's what we're going to talk about next. It's Purpose Under Pressure with Kim Poole. Well, the heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people like you and me. I assume that you are like me, and we're just regular folks trying to do regular things in our regular lives. And sometimes the pressures try to knock us off of our purpose, the things that we're trying to do on a daily basis. And sometimes the pressure wins. Sometimes we win. Either way, we keep growing, we keep going. And that's what this show is all about. If you're back, if you're coming back for more, we do appreciate it. We do it every week. And if you've seen one of the other shows and you're back again, do me a favor. Would you push the like button or subscribe or tell your friends that this show is worth listening to? We're here on purpose to make an impact in other people's lives. And the way we do that is to get heard and listened to and watched by others. And so you can help with that. And I do appreciate your support. Thanks for coming back. Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations. They're also in Jacksonville, Florida. Did you know they are in Capital Region, upstate New York? Did you also know that Sandler by the Ruby Group is the second most successful, second best, if you will, Sandler sales training operation in the country? Wow, that is big time. And I'm thrilled to be a part of what they're doing. And I know they're happy to be a part of this show. Folks, if you're looking for something real for your revenue producers, for your team, for your management, for your leadership, on purpose is the way we do business around here. It's the right way. And that's the way the Ruby Group does their business. They're not going to treat you a lot of tricks and triggers and gimmicks just to close the sale. That's yesterday's news. We're doing things on purpose now in the future, and that's the way Sandler by the Ruby Group does it. So if that's interesting, give them a call, reach out to them. You can find them online, rubygroup.sandler.com. I'm excited to talk today about career development. I've spent a lot of my time in life trying to figure out ways to get students and young people into the workforce and trying to help the workforce stay staffed up so that they can, hit their goals and do their things. But the world keeps changing and it's changing fast. And we're talking today about careers and career coaching. And Kim Poole is my guest. She's a career coach with Into USA. They provide outplacement and career development for those who have been laid off. And there's a lot of those lately. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about that. They're also helping businesses with professional development for their employees. So I'm excited to talk to my friend Kim Poole. Welcome to Purpose Under Pressure.
Thank you, Brian. Nice to join you today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that you're here, and I appreciate that we're going to talk about people that are maybe on the side of things that really need help. Without a job, without a purpose, things like that things can crumble really fast. And I want to talk about that. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your purpose? Why do you do what you do? And just give us an idea of who is Kim Poole, and then we'll talk about all the other stuff.
Well, sure. I say my calling is to help other people find their callings, is one of the things I say. But I have been a career coach for over 20 years, came up through the higher education arena, and was a director of a career center in upstate New York at Houghton University. And then about 6 years ago, transitioned to work for Into USA, which is an outplacement company. So in higher education, worked mainly with college age, sometimes non-traditional students as well, adults. But with an outplacement company, I work with people all ages across all industries, all across US and Canada as well. And really work with people to help them figure out what their next step is, what God is calling them to next, because they have found themselves in a situation they don't really want to be in, but that's where they are. And so I have always enjoyed talking with people and really just getting to know them, what makes them tick, what they're passionate about, what their skills are, what they really enjoy, and pulling that out of them and helping them rediscover it. Because a lot of times they're kind of at a point where they don't know what to do next, and so they need to get back to that firm foundation of who they are. So asking a lot of questions and listening and helping them regain their purpose.
How did you realize you cared about this and you knew about this. I didn't know that you were the head of a career tech school, I guess, for high school age, I'm guessing is what Houghton is. So, how did you get involved in that? And how did you know that this is something that you really like to do?
So Houghton University is a college. It's
It's
a
a college.
yeah,
Okay.
university, and so I have always enjoyed getting to know people and learning and hearing stories. Used to read biographies growing up, and that's kind of my go-to of what I read the most. And so I love to hear what makes people tick, and so when I decided to do a master's in college student personnel, where you could work on a college campus, tried a lot of different of the offices out. And when I realized that career services is where you talk with people and get to know them, and then make the connection of where what kind of resources they need to help them succeed, I realized that that was the path for me.
I love that. I love that you're able to help people do something that's so important to them. And I want to talk about that real quick. What is someone going through? What is the mindset? What do you find are the biggest challenges? It's not always finding the job, right? Sometimes it's just finding the will to get out of bed, maybe. I mean, what's it like in today's day and age to be out of work or a young person trying to find work?
Right. It really is an emotional roller coaster. So even last week, I talked with a candidate who had just found out I talked with her on Wednesday. She had just found out the previous Friday that she was let go. And that was her last day, pack up your things
That
and
was
go.
it.
So it's just really, it's raw, it's fresh when I talk with people, and there's just a roller coaster of emotions that a bit of shock, a bit of, denial of what's happening, sometimes sliding into depression and sadness, and then kind of going into some anger and just frustration about what's going on. And it really takes some time to process and to assess what is happening, to get to the point of coming to an understanding of, okay, this way is closing behind me. There's going to be another door that's open, but I have to be in the right mindset to even be able to talk about it in a positive way, to even be able to figure out who I am again, because your whole identity kind of is rocked when that happens. And so I really enjoy talking with people to help them understand of, this door is closing, but there is a new opportunity. And yes, it's a hard thing to go through, but we need to get to the point where we see this as a new opportunity. And maybe, and a lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll realize, well, there were some things that maybe about my job I didn't really enjoy. And maybe it wasn't really aligned with who I am. And they
Yeah.
come to that realization. And sometimes that's why they're let go. Sometimes it is for performance. And it's because they weren't in a role that really fit their skills and their giftedness, and that's okay. And so the employer is doing them a favor by letting them
Sometimes.
go so that they can get into something that is better aligned with who they are, their identity.
Most people probably come to you after they've lost a job. It seems to me that maybe a great time to come to you is when I already have one, but I imagine most are coming to you in a moment of crisis.
Right. I mean, it's true. There are some people that are in jobs that they're in the job because they want the paycheck, or they
Yeah.
need the paycheck, right? And so we're afraid to take that leap of faith, and to take a step and say, okay, this really isn't aligned with who I am. I need to find something that's better. But sometimes that's hard to do, to just walk
Hmm.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And they probably aren't thinking about a career coach at the time. They're just figuring out what's next. So if I do lose my position and I am in crisis, typically do you find that I just go out and start throwing out resumes and then fail and then finally come to someone like you, like a career coach? Or am I calm and let's do this the right way? I imagine there's a lot of spiraling going on.
Right. And a lot of people don't know, that there are career coaches that do this. And the beauty of Into USA, who I work for, is that we reach out to the employers, and the employers are the ones that are purchasing the services for the people that they let go. And so it's a really
Oh, I
beautiful
see.
design, because the employers are really wanting to help the person that they let go, regardless of what the reason is. Sometimes it's performance, sometimes it's budget cuts, sometimes it's a merger acquisition that, they just don't need as much staff. And so the employer is purchasing the services for the candidate to help them get into their next job, which is the reason why we're called into. But it's very important. It's very crucial because it's not just affecting the person that is let go or that is separated from the company. It also affects the employees that are still at the company.
Yeah.
They're impacted. It also impacts your customer base. So, I mean, we did a survey not too long ago where we asked employees of companies that even if you weren't let go, how would that affect you working there? And only 20% said that they would actually work harder in fear of maybe they would get low in the future. And over 70% of them said that they would probably start looking for another job because they might fear that they would be let go too. So it really does impact all of your employees. And it impacts, do you maintain your customer base? Do you expand your customer base? Depending on what you do when there are layoffs at your company.
Okay, so for instance, this person that talked to you that had just had the rug pulled out from under her completely and was shown the door, her employer referred her to you. Okay,
Correct.
so how does that employer know? The idea that we think of when we think of Fortune 500 companies or the corporate world is, I don't care. It's all about money. It's all about how much are we going to make, and if this person's got to go, good luck, right? But that's not the case in these folks that are reaching out to you. How do they realize that they need to do this better?
Right. I mean, it's all about brand reputation. It's all about maintaining
Huh.
trust too. Um, and truly, it really is the employer showing that they are empathetic and that they care and that they really do want their employees to be in a role that fits and is aligned with them.
Hmm.
And
What percentage of businesses are using a service like this? Or am I right? Is the majority of people just pulling out the rugs and showing them the door?
yes. And I mean, in this time of year, sometimes too, they're not
They don't
even
care.
thinking about, here it is right before the holidays. So
Yeah, they're just doing what they've got to do. That bottom line is, and what is the number one reason that someone is being let go? Is it because the company isn't doing as well as they need to be? Is it because of poor performance? What are you seeing from the company
it's,
point of view?
it's more times than not, it is budget cuts.
Budget cuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But I have always enjoyed all of the places where I have worked, but working for an outplacement company where the employer purchases the services for the candidate is really
I love it.
really lovely because the candidate is so appreciative that they have the services and they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I don't think I knew that that was a thing that people could offer. And, Kim, I know you as a woman strong woman of faith. And you mentioned God a couple of times in this and the path that people are on and where he wants people to be and things. Is Into a Christian organization, or is this the way you approach your job?
It is not, but it is. I obviously bring my faith into my work. It does impact how I do, and just
Yeah.
the empathy that I lead with when I talk with my candidates.
Yeah. I'm glad. Is that okay? Typically, when you're talking with your customers, do you ask for permission first? How does that work?
Typically, if they bring it up, then I want to meet people where they are,
Yeah.
um, and more times than not, that is the case.
Looking at the typical salesperson, everything they do day in and day out, if we simplify all of that and really boil it down, they have two superpowers. First superpower that salespeople have is how they behave. Second superpower they have is what they say. As a seller, we only have two problems. We either said something or did something that we should not have said or done, or we didn't say something or do something that we should have said or done.
Because you're not a recruiter, right? You're helping someone turn their prospects around, and I'm interested then in that realm because it seems like maybe when someone talks to you, they're like, okay, what's next for me? But there's a lot more to it. You mentioned the where they are in mind, their state of mind, and things. How long does it take for you to
Mm.
work with someone who has perhaps just had the rug pulled out to get them to where they're ready to embrace the next step? When do you know you've accomplished it, and how long does that process take?
Yeah, it is a little bit different for everybody depending on their resiliency and
Yeah, I
kind
bet.
of just, yeah, if they're willing to work through some things too. But I think the more I can get them to assess their values, both intrinsic and extrinsic values, like, really, let's talk about some of the things that you did in your previous roles that you really enjoyed. What are those tasks that really bring you joy, that at the end of the day you feel alive, you're energized? Like, what are those things that you want as part of your next role? And then what are the extrinsic values too, the result of your work, compensation, work-life balance? Like, what are all those things, so that when you're looking at a job posting, or you're talking to somebody at a company that you're interested in, you can quickly assess if that's going to be a good fit or not. So we need to work through some of those things, and just, what are your skills? What's that common thread throughout your career, that you just kind of keep going back to? What is it that you can't help but do because it's just who you are? It's just how you're made, that you're going to do it at work, you're going to do it outside of work. It's just what you gravitate towards. It's what people come to you for. That's the other thing I ask people, like, what do people come to you for? What are you known for? And so just really helping them, sometimes even just get that down on paper or on their computer, just have that in front of them. Then they're able to really think through, okay, here's a role that's going to match all those values and
Mm.
align with my skills. And it's really what I have to do to bring joy to my life. And it's also where there's a need in the world. Those two have to align.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of your folks that you talk to, I imagine, maybe got out of college and found a job and and ended up in a spot and probably never
Mhm.
even thought about some of these things. And as we get older, those things change or become at least spotlighted. I'm wondering, when you're talking to somebody, you know what you want. How long does it take, or what's the biggest hurdle to help them understand and to see that light? Like, oh, because there's got to be a lot of trauma that just holds you back for a while, right, Kim? Like, you're saying all the right things, but they're just not hearing you. What's the hardest thing for you to get them to understand what they actually can do?
Uh, that's a good question. And sometimes I think there's not much I can do. They have to kind of work through some things. And
Mm,
sometimes, I mean, it's even like with our kids, right? Sometimes you have to let them sit in the pain a little bit, the pressure, and
hmm
let them sit there until they can kind of actually see that there is another option, that there is a way forward too. But that is hard. It's hard as a career coach to sit there with them, and to lament with them. But that's needed also, you know that
it is.
sometimes you do need to kind of sit with them in that. But what we do more times than not as career coaches is provide that encouragement, provide that positivity. And this goes back to focus on what you can control. So many of the people I work with, they can't control that maybe somebody else got the job over them because it was an internal candidate. But what can you control? You can control being prepared for the next interview, looking, being diligent in your search, in your networking, and things like that. So taking every thought captive, any negative thought that comes into your mind, take that captive and turn it into a positive thought. And so that's what we do. And sometimes weekly with
Yeah.
people.
Weekly, you're trying to have, and do you see growth weekly? Do you see change weekly? How do you know, Kim, when you are successful, when it's worked?
Um, I think it's kind of like what you said, when the light bulb goes off, and you
You can
and I
tell.
think, yeah, and I think when someone is more confident in who they are and whose they are and what they know what they're about, and they can very clearly articulate that, both verbally and also maybe in their resume, on LinkedIn, and they have a very succinct, what I call like a value proposition, what they can provide. Once they do that, then they are more successful in interviews, and they're more successful in landing the interview, and then in interviews. But you really have to get to the point of knowing who you are, having that clear identity. And then that's when someone is more successful. to actually land the job. Yeah.
Let's talk about you quickly as we wrap things up. Do you ever get to enjoy the fruits of your labor? Do you get to see someone successfully make the transition into a fulfilling career, or do they leave you in the last thing and all of a sudden get the job and never call back? Like, sometimes it's hard to know we've really made an impact, even though we
Right.
are. Do you get to
Right.
experience the joy sometimes of what you do?
I do.
Do you?
And yes, and they love to email and say, I landed this job and I start on, I start next week and I'm really excited. So I do get to see that. And we celebrate the wins at our company of how many landings we have each month of all the coaches. And we have over 60 coaches in USA and Canada. So it's fun to hear about all the landings. But you're right. Sometimes if they only have 3 months of service, sometimes they do move on
Mm-hmm.
before they do land. I mean, it is taking longer now, especially. And but I try to connect with people on LinkedIn, so I will look them up and see if they landed, and a lot of times send them a message if they have landed after, and just to congratulate them. And so it's fun to walk along and be on this journey with people that they allow me into their pain, the pressure that they have, and then to kind of help them emerge and regain their purpose and get them into their next role.
I bet. I'm glad we got a chance to talk because I wanted to talk about the pressure of finding a job. And it's not just putting in an application and seeing what's next. I mean, there's so much more to it. You mentioned a little bit the role, the personal identity that comes with a job. And just to break out of that is so difficult. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. If someone were to reach out to your company to learn more about your services, would that be like an HR manager or a
Mhm.
business leader? That's who it would be. And how would they find this company if they're thinking, we're going to have to go through this series of layoffs? We know this is coming. I want to do it right. How would they find you or the company to kind of get that process started?
Yeah, you can look me up on LinkedIn under Kim Poole, and the company website is on my LinkedIn there. So someone can reach out to me there.
Perfectly. They can find you and they can find the services that they need. I think it's amazing that all the different people I get to talk to, we've done over 100 episodes, and every position is different. And to be able to help someone in that moment of crisis has got to be extremely fulfilling for you. And I'm glad you're doing the work, and I'm glad you were able to take some time to talk to us about that.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. It was fun to be on your show.
Yeah, I'm glad you were here. Thank you very much. That is Kim Poole. She is with Into USA, and they're helping businesses help their past employees with career development, things of that sort, to help the world continue to spin. Sometimes it's hard. I mean, every time it's hard, and to do the right thing, to do the next right thing for your customers and so for your employees. Is just the right way to do it. So thank you to Kim Poole, and thank you for being a part of our show here on Purpose Under Pressure. The show is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group. Sellers are under pressure to perform. Sandler helps you to succeed on purpose. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast. And wherever you stream your favorite shows, we do this every week, and we will do it again. We'll see you then on Purpose.